Thompson Productions.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am today's host, Jose Galison. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, April 24th. I will go ahead and let you guys know, just a little bit of a warning. I am probably not going to be available tomorrow unless something happens. I'm picking up a shift. We're getting close. I will tell you, we're getting closer and closer by the day, but we're not quite at the point where it makes more sense for me to do a podcast than to pick up a shift. So I'm picking up a shift to make up a little bit extra money for the time while I was gone. I'm going to continue to and share that. I'm all for it. As soon as I get to even where I'm like, I guess, close to making similar money to picking up a shift, I'll stop working, because it's like, why would I go in? Even if it's for like $100 less or so, I don't know, it's a significant amount less. It's like, I'd still be willing just to not travel. So, but we're getting there. We're getting close. But with that, now Austin, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think there'll be a morning dump tomorrow. Austin maybe could pick it up. I don't know. Maybe if you guys bug him online and say, oh, we really want you to talk about this or that. But if anything, probably leave him alone, actually, honestly. He's kind of I think he's entering his cave, his hibernation, his podcast production hibernation. So hopefully here soon we'll have probably a 72-hour long documentary on, some specific child trafficking network from like 60 years ago or something like that, which will be cool. But anyways, yeah, he's making his stuff. So there probably won't be one tomorrow. So hey, but I do have, I think tonight I have Jacob come back on to continue our false memory syndrome series. So I mean, that's for the patrons, obviously. So you gotta pay for that. Otherwise, wait. But yeah. It's nice to be with you guys today. I see Star Crimes in the chat. Doctori 420. Lance asking if we're talking about Lance Trudeau's father. Oh, that took me a second. Yeah, Castor. We're actually not talking about him. That was couldn't really think of a person for today, and that was the closest, visually recognizable character I could think of to anything I'm talking about today. This was in relation to the FSU shooter thing. One of the victims, which we will get into, was, I believe their dad was a Cuban exile. So, I mean, if you guys follow my show, you know those Cuban exiles are like fucking involved in everything. So this was, and when I say Cuban exile, I mean like one of the Cuban exiles, like the one we talk about when we talk about conspiracy stuff, when we talk about RFK, JFK, when we talk about, I don't know, what are these? I swear they come up in a shitload of like anything stateside. They always seem to somehow, you come back to somehow some sort of fucking Cuban exile fucking connection. It's wild. What the Watergate Cuban exiles. But anyway, so we have Cuban exile connection there. So just Castro. Hey, whatever. Close enough. It's something. Hey, it's recognizable. I couldn't think of anything else. But yeah, say Mike Chimbira. I don't think I've seen you in here. What's up? Get ready to rumble. Daniel, I see a nice little tower in the chat. And nice. You didn't quite pull it off, but you're getting there. Danny says, I'm looking great. I sure am. Sloppy Toppy in here. North Side. Fendelander. What it do, people? Hell yeah, dude. Got a bunch of people in here. All right, well, let's wait for more people to roll in and take a second to pay the bills. I do want to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Nadeau Shave Co. Yeah, I know I'm looking a little sloppy, my face looking a little rough, but here in the next day or two, I will get the old Nadeau out and I will straighten it up. I've, had a rough past week. I say rough, but it was fun. But it was a busy past week. It's the better way to put it. So, yeah, about time for me to trim up too. And I'll definitely be using the dough to edge up this beard with, because that is the way to go. This is much preferable to the multi-blade cartridges. No, those multi-blade cartridges, they're just simply not going to give you as good of a shave. This thing, you would think like multiple razors, better shave. No. One blade gives you one surface of like pushing on it. I mean, just think about the physics of that. Obviously, it's like as opposed to just one flat thing dragging across this blood. Now it's like cutting in more, if that makes sense. So it gives you a deeper shave. It's also less blades being dragged across your face. So it's going to be better for your skin. So it gives you a smoother shave, better for your face. It's cheaper, like significantly cheaper. And that's $75 for the first year. After that, you're going to be just getting buying blades. So the $75 comes with the handle you see here and 100 blades. So, I mean, that's lasting. This is going to last me way longer than a year. So it really just depends on how long it's going to last. You probably get 1 to 3 shaves out of every one of those. Actually, 2 to 6 now I think about it because they're double-sided. So yeah, this will last you a long-ass time. Really, unless you're shaving on the regular, that's going to do it for you. I mean, and if that's the case, you got the Daily Shave Club you can consider getting, which gives you 25 cents per replacement blade. But yeah, it's a better shave, smoother. It's a better for your skin, smoother shave, cheaper. It's from a company that doesn't hate your guts. This company was born out of refusing the COVID mandate. So, I mean, yeah, assuming since you're here, I'd assume you have a certain set of values, and generally speaking, Nadeau seems to line up with those. So it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's a better shave, cheaper, from a company that doesn't hate you. So don't know what you're doing if you're shaving with that old nonsense. Go get you Nadeau Shave Co. Use Jose at checkout, and on top of all of that I just mentioned, you can get 10% off of your order. So, but with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Check in the chat, see who else showed up. Don't forget, he said, "Fuck your jab, government pussies." Yeah, he sure did. He did. He was Old Nadeau was a military member, and he said, "Fuck this, I'm out." So what's up, dude? I see OP in there, Screwed Up Rebellion, Bobo, Jack Burton. Man, hell yeah, dude, we got a good little showing in here today. All right, let's get into some content. Let's do some anti-war leading up as we usually do. So a little bit of anti-war stuff. Let me see. Here we go. I thought this was particularly evil. I guess Israel's Ben Gvir came to the States and met with GOP, and they clapped like seals while he talked about how they should bomb food in Gaza. So let's go ahead and read this piece. This is from Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com, which, by the way, I guess he's almost at 10K. So give him go subscribe over to Anti-War News with Dave DeCamp on YouTube. He's getting very, very close to 10K, and I can't think of anyone who deserves it more than Dave. I mean, he's been plugging away at this stuff for a long time. Oh man, I guess I could probably maybe think of it. He's up at the tippy top, so he definitely deserves far more follows than he has. So go check him out. And if you're not interested in that, at the very least, keep an eye on antiwar.com. This is really probably one of the best places to keep an eye on what's going on in the world. And I would say, like, the for his show, just a little quick, I guess, plug for his show. It's like usually around 30 minutes long. And it's Monday through Friday. Well, I think it's Sunday through, or whatever. I don't know. He records really late. But anyways, it's a 5-day week, like essentially Monday through Friday, basically, and 30 minutes, and gives you a quick rundown of all the headlines of all the stuff going on around the world. And really, I'd say I've been listening to I listen to it just about every day. So, and I would say I'd say I'm probably more knowledgeable on foreign policy than probably like 90% of commentators. And I don't even think I'm like really all that impressive. I don't mean that in like any sort of like way. I'm just saying, like, and that's a very, very low effort. That's just me reading what's going on, because most people aren't even aware of what the fuck is going on. So, I mean, it was a must for me to do a show. So, but I highly recommend it. All right, let's read this. Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir is visiting the U.S. and said on Wednesday that during a meeting at Mar-a-Lago, he received support from Republican leadership for his plan to bomb food and aid warehouses in Gaza. He says, I had the party and privilege to meet with senior officials on the Republican Party at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, he said on X. Now, this is still a quote. Bear this in mind. He said, they expressed support for my very clear position on how to act in Gaza that the food and aid warehouses should be bombed in order to create military and political pressure to bring our hostages home safely, the minister added. He also goes, the government must also order the bombing of the aid stockpiles that have accumulated in Gaza in enormous quantities before or during and before the ceasefire. So I guess like when the times there were still goods flowing through, there were some intelligent people that tried to store it up because they knew things would likely pick back up. And I guess the idea was like, fuck these guys, we'll just bomb that. So let them starve to death. This is obviously all being kind of framed as like, that way we have leverage, which is like, it's a gross way. It's the same thing as being like, oh, look, we just murdered an innocent family. And you're like, oh, casualties. It's just, you just glaze over it with some word. And you're like, okie dokie, makes it okay. No, we're applying proper leverage to Hamas. No, you're fucking preventing food. You're like, I get it. I mean, we're already at a blockade, but it's just an extra level where you're like, literally they're hunting down food and destroying the food so that they don't have food. So this is what we're supporting, which, by the way, this is super fucking illegal according to international law. It's a fucking war crime. So, but yet our GOP just, that's great. So, I don't know. I mean, these rules mean nothing really at the end of the day. So, yeah. Someone's saying, I think really starting to think there is no hostages anymore. I think we covered yesterday, I believe it was old Bezalel, the fucking demon himself with his demonic name, that he literally said that they need to sacrifice the hostages, which is, that was the plan from the beginning. So that was to sacrifice the hostages. It was always a plan that they were just using them as leverage and kind of a weak pretense. So someone has Gaza screwed up brilliance as Gaza has food warehouses. I doubt they have any food in them. Yeah, I kind of doubt they have much. Sloppy Tubby says something about Georgia town that's a Facebook database. They have no water pressure. The AI database is stealing all the water. I don't understand what that means. Jose, how would you make you feel if you couldn't steal Austin's water? But I did steal Austin's water. All right, scrolling through the chat. All right, let's move on to the next story. A little bit more hopeful here. A little bit better of a story we have on the Russia-Ukraine front. It looks like, hey, they're making some sort of rhetorical push for peace again. I don't know. Every time, it seems like every week we get one of these stories. And by the way, when I say this, I'm not at all throwing any shade at Dave. He's just reporting on the story. But like, obviously, people are quoting on this and stuff. But like, it's just we get these sort of stories or statements from individuals every week or so, and they go, and they really need to stop that war over there, and then they just really don't do anything. So it's like it's just this like rhetoric only. It seems like. I mean, I know we did have that small period of time where we did stop aid and intelligence sharing, and that was like, oh shit, like that was that moment where I feel like a lot of us were like, oh shit, I think they're actually serious. Like, I mean, because it was, I would say on the campaign trail, Trump did run pretty fucking hard on the whole, Russia-Ukraine stuff. So I think most people, even myself somewhat included, while I didn't vote for Trump, and I kind of was like told most people I didn't really think it made much of a difference. That did kind of give me the impression that perhaps the strong indication he meant business, but that shut down shortly after. I mean, I was obviously less hopeful, but still kind of maybe that was some sort of display to show the level of seriousness, and maybe somehow that could be used to leverage an ending to this later. But I'm not I mean, as the more time goes on, the more that seems like this was probably just it almost feels like a perception game. Like they're just trying to throw out a little bit to make the people think, oh shit, he was serious. But I don't know. I see the opposite now. At this point, the more every day goes on, the more we're still providing aid to this country. The more it proves it out to me, in my opinion, because it's like, hey, he showed he had the capability to do it, and that did bring him to the table real fucking quick and change the tone and tenor of the entire situation. But then went right back to status quo as soon as the money started flowing. So, I mean, it shows he has the ability. So, why we're not doing it, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could make up some crazy fucking top level argument of like, oh, we got to do this for leverage or negotiation, but I don't know. It seems pretty fucking retarded to me. It seems just kind of like, yo, just cut it off. And it's like, I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, I guess maybe you could say, well, maybe that won't end the war. Maybe they'll do this. Maybe they'll do that. Maybe Europe will pick up but it's like, at the very least, we're doing the best we can. I mean, it's like, at least pair your rhetoric with action. I don't know. It's just, I don't have, but I guess whatever, let's read some of these quotes to, I don't know, give an impression of the level of seriousness here we're dealing with. But I guess Trump's talking shit about Zelensky is the key point here. He says this statement is very harmful. Wait 1 second. Trump slammed Zelensky lately for rejecting the idea of Ukraine recognizing Crimea as Russian, saying the comment is hurting the peace process. So I guess that's been one of the key issues is the land stuff, is that Ukraine's still been holding out that like, no, we're going to get our land back. Like, no, the fuck you aren't. That's just a silly, pie in the sky type of idea. Because effectively that just means, oh, okay, then status quo, and we go back to fighting for forever, and you still end up not getting what you want at the end. So, I mean, this is just kind of the brass tacks of what we're dealing with here. But, anyways, this Trump says on that, he says this statement is very harmful to the peace negotiations with Russia, and that Crimea was lost years ago under the auspices of President Barack Hussein Obama, and is not even a point of discussion. He wrote on Truth Social, said nobody is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory. But if he wants Crimea, why didn't they fight for it 11 years ago when it was handed over to Russia without a shot being fired? The area also houses for many years before the Obama handover major Russian submarine bases, the president said, which this is all true about Crimea. He said that the inflammatory statements like Zelensky's were prolonging the war. He has nothing to boast about. The situation for Ukraine is dire. He can have peace, or he can fight for another 3 years before losing the whole country, he said. Which, to my point earlier, it's like, okay, then we should have nothing to do with this. And honestly, I have a feeling that if we weren't giving the money, they wouldn't fight for another 3 years. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess the vice president all said the only way to really stop the killing is for the armies to both put down their weapons, to freeze this thing, and get on with the business of actually building a better Russia and a better Ukraine, the vice president added. So, I'm not super hopeful, but I guess it's good. At least we're getting rhetoric. It's something. Screwed up Brilliant saying Putin decides when the war stops. Yeah, sort of. Yes and no. I mean, in a certain sense, like if we stop funding, it's like, yeah, you can keep going, but like, good luck with your current situation. So, I mean, yes, Putin does decide, but also we can easily cut off aid, as has been demonstrated before. And yeah, maybe you could make the argument, perhaps the fighting would still go on, but it's no longer our problem, and we have nothing. It's nothing to do with us. And I actually think it probably would end. So, but I mean, whatever. I'm open to the idea it would continue fighting, but it's kind of slightly beside the point. At the very least, it would make a difference in the degree in which they are fighting, or the level of confidence in which they feel in their fighting. The idea that you no longer, hey, the big bully that had your back in the fray is no longer there. I think it might change the dynamics of the situation. So I don't know, but we'll see. Good morning, Eddie Grimm. Good morning. Jack, I get you. I think someone was mentioning with the AI thing that I mentioned earlier. It says they're hogging the power and water. Yeah, that is my understanding, that the AI does use up a lot of energy. So, which I guess makes sense. So, I think that was the whole point of that. So, all right, let's now on to the last story on this side of things. We're not super duper dense in this sort of stories today. But, I guess sort of ties into anti-war stuff. This one is on Israel and Pope Francis. Apparently, I guess, as one would assume, a ton of Israeli officials did, put out their kind of condolences. Sad to see the Pope, gone, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of the standard boilerplate stuff you expect to see, especially from official figures. Completely checks out. Nothing untowards. It's a major religious figure who passes. I mean, I get it. We talked yesterday about the anti-war side of Pope Francis. I guess he was against the Ukraine-Russia stuff. He made it very vocal. The Gaza stuff as well, which I guess is a distinct thing when it comes to popes. Typically, their whole thing is neutrality. So even the simple idea of him getting rhetorically involved means a lot. So I guess Israel took that pretty fucking personally, and they literally, essentially, I guess, kind of put out the call that, yo, stop, get rid of this shit. So yeah, the headline here being Israel cracks down on official posts mourning Pope Francis. Israeli diplomats criticize foreign ministries handling a pontiff's death, saying it damages Israel's image. So let's scroll through this real quick. Israel's orders to remove official posts expressing condolences on the death of Pope Francis has sparked outrage among international observers and stirred controversy among Israeli ambassadors. In several now deleted posts, accounts belonging to the Israeli Foreign Ministry in various countries mourn the pontiff's death on X following the announcement of his passing, writing, "Rest in peace, Pope Francis. May his memory be a blessing." Yeah, perfectly innocent. Even if you want to believe in the mass slaughter of women and children and a occupied people, you can still go, oh, you can still come by, you can still fall behind that statement, right? Even if you are literally supporting the mass murder. Many users have criticized this decision some calling it offensive to Catholics around the world. Several Israeli ambassadors echoed these sentiments, with Israeli Daily Yedioth and Naroth reporting the removal of the post has sparked internal resentment of the ministry's handling of the announcement. So we are deleting a simple, innocent tweet that expresses basic condolences and is clear to everyone this is only because of the Pope's criticism of Israel for the fighting in Gaza, one diplomat said. So then another Israeli ambassador said that they were given an unequivocal order to delete without any further clarification. When we asked, we were told that the issue was under review. This does not satisfy us, and certainly not the public to whom we represent, Israel. So, yeah. I mean, we obviously we can continue the story. I recommend you guys go check this out as well. This is on the Middle East Eye. This was written by Mira Al-Adam. But yeah, it's kind of wild. You would just think, sometimes it's astounding. It's just like shittiness to a level of retardation, essentially. Just like, how could you be this fucking stupid? Like, this is obviously going to be a Streisand effect. Like, if your whole idea is like, oh, we want to censor any sort of Pope, anything about the Pope, just that way, because like, oh no, it might open a can of worms of people talking about the Gaza stuff. You're far more likely to create that effect by doing this than you are by just doing nothing. So, because the only reason anyone would even make this a story is because of this. If they had never put out the call to anyone, I don't feel like anyone would have made a thing about it. I don't feel like there would be any crazy sweeping stories about that somehow tying in the Israeli, condolences of it into that. If anything, it would give them as a country, as a government, probably some level of good faith, to some degree, as opposed to this option. This is just so on its face the dumbest fucking thing you could possibly do. Like, I can't even really. I struggle to conceptualize like being this stupid in this modern world of the internet. Maybe if this was 50 plus years ago or something, I could understand when we didn't have information travel in the way that it does now. But to do this in today's age is just astounding. Like, I think it was Scott recently who referred to Israel as a kind of like a high time preference or like behavior. It's totally true. Like, this is peak high time preference behavior, because you get like maybe you can make some sort of argument that you have a small, because for those who don't understand the concept of like high time preference, it's the idea of like willing to forego something. Like high time preference, there's high time and low time. High time would be the idea of like that you aren't willing to forego not receiving profit or resources or whatever for a period of time, assuming that likely it will increase in value or increase in quantity or whatever over a period of time. And this is kind of like Hoppe makes the argument with this, that these are kind of like basic indicators of like a healthy society. If you have a low time preference society, and these even apply to things like cultural practices or, sexual practices, whatever. Like, hell, a lot of people get offended when he uses it, implies it to things like homosexuality or what he considers other forms of degeneracy. But the idea being like the best form, like, for example, as opposed to being a man or a woman that's going out there slinging dick or pussy all over the place and just banging everyone, that's high time preference behavior. Like, it feels fun in the moment, but it completely degrades you in many ways. As a woman, good luck finding a man. Okay, maybe it doesn't apply for men. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. But Yeah, you get the point. The idea being is if you're, more willing to forego pleasure or profit or whatever, you typically speaking, that's the recipe for future, profit essentially. I mean, hell, like anything, any business venture requires capital, and then that requires usually it takes a while before you even pay off the capital and receive profits. It's the same idea, but yet those people who do those sorts of actions, usually the people who benefit the most. But then whenever you look at people who do high time preference behavior, those are typically people, wallowing in squalor. So it's like, but yeah, it's just wild. And you see a nation act with such an insane level of high time preference behavior. It's just like, okay, cool. You get what maybe a small window of time where you get some sort of benefit where you don't have to worry about propagating the anti-war sentiments of Pope Francis. But it's like, okay, cool. Then literally within a day, the story is going to get out, and now everyone's going to be talking shit about you and talking about Pope Francis anymore. So you get like one day of benefit, towards your ultimate goal, maybe for like triple the quantity and for days longer, if that makes sense, just to put it simply. So it's just insane, which it once again, I guess, points to the idea of where Israel is at. I think, I think they've kind of somewhat always behaved in this way, but it's been far more flagrant recently and far more over the top. So it's almost as if the high time preference behavior is accelerating. And I think, hell, is even what Tim Pool, I think, semi-famously mentioned, I say famous might be oversaying it. I can't remember when he was saying it recently, the idea that like in 10 years, like Israel's not going to be a major factor in that sense. So I think I think stuff like this is kind of points to it. Well, it's obviously awful to watch and just kind of shitty, some of these actions. Obviously, this one's kind of like minute, but like comparatively, all the other stuff, it's like, while it is like them, ratcheting up tensions and going nuts, it's like I do think it's kind of in a long-term sense kind of positive, as fucked up as it is, some of the stuff they're doing in the present term. But I don't know, it's just wild. And I really can't think of a better situation of a high time preference behavior on the behalf of on the side of Israel than something like this. This is just so tone deaf, just so dumb. All right, let's go in the chat, see what you guys have to say. Popa says Atlanta has a lot of high time preference behavior. Am I the only one that feels like the low and high would make more sense the other way? Me too. Me too. I've always been that way. It took me a long time to like remember which one's high and which one's low. But high would be like obviously I'm assuming but just to reiterate for the audience, high time preference would be, you're not willing to wait, forego pleasure, profit, whatever. Like essentially you want it now. It's the idea of like, I don't know, having a masturbation problem as opposed to trying to develop a relationship with a woman or something. It's a similar type concept. So, but that would be high. Like the chronic masturbator would be with a high time preference. Whereas, I don't know, let's say a super hyper religious individual who doesn't do anything sexual aside with their wife. You could even go crazier except for the reason of procreation, and that would be like peak low time preference behavior. Now, I do want to be clear when we talk low time preference and high time preference. Typically speaking, usually you kind of can characterize low and high as negative and positive, but you can actually have low time preference behavior and be negative. So I just want to clear that up because it can be like you can be practicing low time preference behavior. You could be someone who takes out a bunch of capital and applies this some sort of production thing of some sort in order to get some sort of end product and receive profit, and you could completely do an awful job investing your money and lose it all. And that would be low time preference behavior still, but it didn't work out to your benefit. So, I mean, it's just the idea of people it's the idea of being willing to forego it. So sometimes it's almost smarter to do the low time or the high time preference behavior. So I just wanted to make that point because, as Ty had mentioned earlier, when it comes to like sexuality, for example, some people get uppity about that in Appa's work. It's not necessarily painting a moral value on it. I mean, obviously, I think in that situation, it kind of was. But generally speaking, it's like you can exhibit high time preference and low time preference behavior, and those be actually the smarter thing in a given situation to do. Because there's plenty of situations you can think of where it's smarter to to go the high time preference route than it is the low. So that's my only point. I just didn't want anyone to, I don't know. But whatever, go read Democracy of the God That Fails. That's a great book. But high time preference, seek instant gratification, is from Screwed Up Rebellion. Parasites are high time preference. Exactly. So, Yeah, great example of this. So waits 40 years to get laid in Boston, bad load time. Exactly, great example of bad load time preference behavior. So Toad is like a peak example of like low time preference behavior not being a good thing. That's what that is. So, all right, let's Sloppy Toppy says chronic masturbator here. This is Israel putting out the call that they want the next pope to be pro-genocide. Yeah, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if that were the case. All right, let's get into the next story. I saw this, and this was actually kind of a funny way for me to realize I was blocked by Roger Stone, because I kept trying to bookmark it, but no, it wouldn't let me. It's like, why can't you? The author has blocked you. It was on my phone, so it wouldn't even bring up that thing. It just kept being like, kept in the bookmark, be like, why won't they let me do it? Why won't you let me do it? And then that's when I realized Roger Stone has me blocked, but I also have accused him of probably drinking many a babies. So I think that might have something to do with it. I think I vaguely recall saying something about like him slurping down children or something and getting nuked forever ago. I don't fucking remember. Yeah, he fucking freaks me out. And I'm pretty sure he was involved in the NXIVM cult, which is another rabbit hole I need to dig into one of these days. But either way, I guess he shared something from Zero Hedge, I guess Bush era swamp creature revealed to be key figure in OKC bombing. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Now, this says by Tyler Durden. I haven't hit up Ken. Come on. Stop it. Okay, I haven't hit up Ken, but because this says by Tyler Durden here. But I know Ken has written for Zero Hedge before. Ken Silver, for those aren't aware. That's my buddy, friend, acquaintance, somewhere in between there. He's cool as shit. I like Ken. A lot of great work. But yeah, he I think he said something about getting ready to create a piece or something. There also is Richard is included in here at one point. So I think it leads me to believe maybe this is a Ken piece. I only say that because it says by Tyler Durden, but I'm pretty sure that's like a Zero Hedge thing, that we're like all the Zero Hedge articles they take and they changed it by Tyler Durden. So I want to say this is a Ken article, but I looked for his page last night when I saw this, couldn't find it, but it just seems, everything, I haven't read it yet, but everything just scrolling through, it looks like a Ken article to me. So I think it might be a Ken article. But anyways, maybe he didn't share it on his own personal page. Maybe this was like a special thing he did for Zero Hedge, because this is a huge account, so maybe it was the idea of being anonymous type deal. I don't know, but he has written from them before. Usually it's like a repost type thing. I think this is like an initial thing if it's him. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling. I missed this one, but I figured it'd be good to go through it. And this is kind of something I don't recall much about, so maybe it'll either jog my memory of this being the case, or as I go through it, it's new information. I'm unsure. But all right, let me take a sip and we're going to do it. Starts with a quote. It says, as I've always said, the only difference in the KGB and the FBI is that the KGB has never claimed to be a legitimate law enforcement agency. And this is from Jesse Trentadue. It says, readers may know the name John Ashcroft, Attorney General under George H.W. Bush. Or George W. Bush. I don't know why I threw the H in there. Well, good old Ashcroft was at the heart of a high-profile cover-up, the Oklahoma City bombing, according to Attorney Jesse Trentadue. The following comes from a court filing provided to Zero Hedge by Trentadue, attorney to OKC bombing accomplice Terry Nichols. So, for context, per Jesse from KennethTrentadue.com, Jesse is the brother of Kenneth Trentadue, who died in August 1995 while incarcerated at the Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Following the death, the DOJ immediately deemed it a suicide, denied the medical examiner access to the cell where Kenneth Trentadue was killed, ordered the cell cleaned and painted, and repeatedly asked both the medical examiner and Kenneth Trendadue's family to authorize the cremation of his body. The medical examiner could not legally authorize cremation, and the family refused, demanding that Kenneth's body be returned to them. When Trendadue's body was returned to the family, they removed heavy makeup and discovered bruises all over his body, from head to foot. The bruises, cuts, and other wounds depicted an obvious beating and murder, which I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they had an episode removed a while back for the photos of Trendadue's body. So, yeah, and they said it was for like being against suicide or something, and pointing to the photos, which is wild because they have weird suicide stuff now. So, anyways, point being, it's like, dude, I'm literally saying he didn't kill himself. But anyways, while serving his prison sentence, Nichols attempted to spark an investigation into FBI involvement in the OKC bombing. He sent a letter stating that he could provide such information to the then head of the DOJ, Ashcroft. Ashcroft did not respond to the letter, but immediately forbade the media from speaking to Nichols, which resulted in 60 Minutes canceling a sit-down interview they had scheduled with Nichols, says Trinidad. Shortly thereafter, Nichols said he received a visit from a man presenting an offer from the DOJ to undo Nichols' death sentence if he agreed to 3 conditions. Okay. Take ownership of an anonymous warning the DOJ received saying the Murrah building was bombed 30 minutes before it actually had been. Oh, shit. Okay. Implicate Nichols' own brother in the bombing plot. And then reveal the location of the kinestic and explosive used in the bombing. Nichols mentioned having knowledge of an unused stash in his letter to Ashcroft. The existence of a remaining stash was not known at the time. Oh shit. Okay, this is news to me. I do not recall. I think this is legit, just news. Because I didn't know if this was one of those things where, like, you know, they've some minor angle or something, and that way because I mean, a lot of times this happens in these old stories, and I'm not even saying that in a bad way. It's you find a way to spruce it up to make it where it makes sense to talk about it in a modern sense, something newish about it. So I thought maybe that'd be the case. No, this is just straight up new info. I did not know this. I mean, maybe this is buried somewhere in the, you know, source information that I'm not aware of, but this seems pretty fucking new. Kind of wild. You know, he referenced the 30 minutes thing. I think we talked about this real quick yesterday. We didn't actually go through the thread, but I mentioned it in passing and said we'd probably go through it. So I think we'll actually go through this after here in a second. Richard made a thread about the Murrah building, you know, the 30 minutes prior call about the Murrah building type deal. So yeah, I guess the idea, John Ashcroft really made a big deal about it that, fucking Nichols needs to be the one that says, hey, I did that. It's because obviously, you know, it seems like, obviously, I don't know who the fuck did that or what, but I mean, it kind of looks like someone somewhere knew something. And I mean, I guess you could go full schizo and go like, revelation of the method type stuff, because this does happen. I mean, what was it? I believe 9/11 had similar reports. So, I mean, it seems like a common through line you see in a lot of these deep events, like, you know, prior warning type deal and shortly before. So you could say it's a revelation of the method thing, just kind of like just to throw it in your face, just to fuck with you. But I mean, it also could easily be someone somehow in the know or becoming in the know, kind of like a last minute type thing and being like, oh, fuck. And like, I don't know, actually having a spine to some degree. I don't know, but all right, let's keep going. It's just this is a wild story. It was discovered that DOJ proxy Michael Selby, who visited Nichols, previously worked in Ashcroft's private security detail. Nichols helped to further corroborate that this meeting took place by telling ZH. Who the fuck is ZH? Zero Hedge. After the declaration was filed, Selby called me upset as hell. Said that I had just got him fucking killed. Oof. The attorney who brought Selby into Nichols is Rodney Uphoff, a law professor at the University of Missouri. I called Uphoff and he confirmed the event. Okay, shit. So he noted, I guess somehow during his in the ins and outs of his court stuff, he mentioned Selby, and man, I guess he's saying that he got so upset that he, in quotes, said that I got him fucking killed, in quotes. And this guy previously worked for his private security detail for Ashcroft. Okay. Which is kind of wild. I mean, for those who, obviously I assume a lot of you guys probably follow most of me and Austin's coverage, we've kind of come to a revelation, especially in our child trafficking stuff, the degree to which the drivers are involved. But I've also brought up the point multiple times that, like, security details, it's like there's certain people that I think, certain entities that go overlooked by the public because you don't really, it's like this obvious truth that no one really thinks about. If you think about these high-powered people, and if we're going to think they do incredibly awful, degenerate, evil things, who would have to know about this? Who would have to be in the know? I think it would be likely the drivers, so transportation, and then things like Secret Service, i.e. security. So security and transportation, those are people that, borderline have to be the know, especially transportation if you're talking about moving other humans, because you need someone to bring them in and out type deal. But yeah, I think it's a worthwhile mentioning that, hey, here's a guy in his private security detail who used to work in private security detail, who's working for the DOJ, meeting with Nichols. So weird stuff. It's strange that such an offer, given leniency to an accomplice to one of the most horrific domestic terrorist attacks in U.S. history, would be presented by someone who does not work at the DOJ and stipulate that Nichols take credit for an anonymous tip, which he did not make. Okay, scrolling. Was independently covered. All right, so I'm trying to. It sounds like what they're saying here. I don't feel like it explicitly stated. The DOJ proxy says that the DOJ proxy, and then a man presenting an offer. Okay, it's not entirely clear. You always have to, I don't know, be almost like borderline retarded and interpret this stuff literally sometimes. I was just trying to be clear. This says a man presenting an offer to the DOJ, and then says DOJ proxy. I just want to make sure they're speaking about the same person to make sure it was clear. So yeah, they are saying that this Selby guy is the one who met with Terry Nichols, who didn't even work for the DOJ. So he's a proxy. He's presenting an offer from the DOJ. Doesn't even work for the DOJ. And after shortly, shutting down the 60 Minutes, interview after talking to Ashcroft, the only person he really did talk to, he receives this offer from the DOJ from someone who used to be private security for Ashcroft. Okay, there you go. That's a good way. I think a good way to kind of conceptualize it. So you guys get the idea. All right. Nichols ultimately did not accept the deal because he did not want to throw his brother in the bus. Good for him. The story, now part of official record thanks to Trendu, serves as an interesting look into the true conspiracies that Ashcroft may have had a hand in. To see the full spectrum of official documents that Jesse Trendu has fought hard to force the government to release, follow his website, in honor of his brother, who he believes was murdered by the FBI. So this is www.kennethtrendu.com. He also just got interviewed by Jesse, so you can go check that out. I don't know what's going on. I know I told you I was supposed to. I don't know what's going on with that. I have no idea. So. But, all right, let's go through this thread real quick, because, I mean, this ties into the whole story. So, let's go through this real quick. Here's from Richard. It says, ABC News. Actually, let me double check and make sure I'm actually getting audio. No, I am not. Of course, it's being screwy because StreamYard's gay. Give me a second. Let me bring up this screen to make sure it shows audio before I do this. Here we go. Should be good now. Yeah. Let me know if you guys don't hear this. But it's right here. This is Richard's thread. It says ABC News 2020 reports on how someone called the executive secretariat in D.C. about a half hour before the OKC bombing and said the Murrah Federal Building has just been bombed. So let's go ahead and play this.
Documents obtained by 2020 show that someone called the executive secretariat's office at the Justice Department in Washington and said the Murrah Building had been bombed. But this was 24 minutes before the blast. No action was apparently taken. Documents obtained by 2020 show that someone called the...
All right, there we go. All right, let's move on to the rest of this thread. This is also covered in Stephen Jones' book, Others Unknown, on page 1 and later in detail in chapter 13, which is called Phone Calls. You know what? I just realized, because that was like word for word, I think Richard wrote this. So, hey, if you wrote this, Richard, props. Good for you. So it's cool seeing you in Zero Hedge, if that's the case. I have a feeling it might have been Richard. But let's keep going. Even more about this call, and something very strange involving the feds and Terry Nichols will be found in Blowback, the untold story of the FBI and the Oklahoma City bombing. Blowback here. This should be coming out soon. I believe July, is when it was. I'll let you guys know, obviously, when it gets closer. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I end up interviewing the author or something along those lines, because I'm looking forward to this. I know there's some new information that's in here. I'm kind of like, I've literally done multiple shows before where I've had to like allude to like information I'm pretty sure is in here because I can't remember the specific source. So it'll be nice when that comes out. That way I can get some of my little factoids more straight and like, oh yeah, here's the specific this, as opposed to being like, I think it's going to be in this book coming up. You know what I mean? It's a lot better if I can actually, but so that'll be out soon. And that's really, I guess, all of there is to that one. Just there's the video itself. I thought maybe there was more to that thread, but either way, good story. Props to whoever wrote it. It's cool to see this stuff getting on the big stage on things like Zero Hedge. It's a big ass show. So, all right, let's scroll through the chat, see what you guys have to say. Is this Roger Stone, the Edomite? Yeah. Flynn's were named in the wording's weird there. I don't know what you mean. Anyone else think Nick Shirley is a glowy? I don't know who Nick Shirley is. Good morning, Control Alt Dig. Oh, Nick Mullen's up in this bitch? No way. I mean, you're not Nick Mullen. Helper Crow, good morning, good morning. OP just said, have you been at work at 2 hours and you just realized you put on 2 different shoes? All right, that is pretty wild. That's next level clumsy. All right, let's get into, this is from one of the patrons, your mom. One of supports the show. I believe he supports me and Austin. But he was telling us the other day on Already Dead that the Parkland shooters, or no, there was Parkland students who were there too. And this is also, there was as I mentioned earlier, there was another victim that was a Cuban exile. A child of a Cuban exile, one of the super duper glowies. So kind of fucking wild. But yeah, I figured, I said, when your mom told me that, I was like, holy shit, really? Like, send us over some sources. He did. And so we're going to go through that, see if there's any smoke, if there's any fire to this smoke, or I guess we can evaluate how much smoke we think there is. I mean, maybe we'll be like, oh, there was just someone who wasn't even involved in, I mean, I don't know, maybe we can come away from this and go, it's not that crazy, but it is kind of wild for me as a conspiratorial individual that have some sort of weird shooting. Especially, I think there was a lot of like race angles that were attached to it after the fact. I know there was like that video of the black chick who was like kind of casually sipping a coffee as she walked by like a woman, some woman bleeding out on the ground, just kind of like, oh, whatever. There was some like race angles added to it. It seems like it didn't really seem to like take off in any sort of way that I'm aware of. But I was a little bit distracted when this stuff was going on. I had my head deep in the books for my OKC performance coming up. So I don't know. I might not be the greatest gauge, but so far as like going big, being a national news story, if you're trying to make glowy implications, like there's some sort of reason they want this to go. Like for the media side of it, I didn't see that, but it's like, I don't know, maybe there might always be angles, some other angle we're not thinking of. Like for example, me and Austin were actually just talking on the phone yesterday, because I don't know if I plugged this by the way, but go ahead and let you know now. Me and Austin are going to be on Shane Cashman's show on Sunday. The Inverted World. So we'll be on that, where he wanted to talk about like essentially like Program to Kill type shit. So like serial killer stuff. So we were kind of talking about the concept of like serial killers and like how it's really not, as we were talking through the different examples, because we were trying to get like an idea of like a through line, maybe a few main topics that we want to hit, when we talk about it. So we came up with a few. And we were kind of like, the main theme here is that like, yeah, the idea here is essentially the government did a satanic panic, but with serial killing is what it feels like. If you look back and when you start reanalyzing these things, essentially the idea being that like lots crazy shit was happening. And then, crazy other stuff like these serial killer things. And instead of, pointing to what they are, it kind of was just easier to kind of hand wave away and just kind of call this whole phenomenon serial killing. When you kind of we were getting the weeds, and it's like really a lot of these were like, looks like kind of covering up larger networks of this or that thing, or, a cult or child trafficking network or whatever. Like a lot of these were cleanups. So it's like that. The point I'm driving at is like maybe, sometimes these things are other things hidden as something else. So maybe there's something to that, but we're about to dig into that. So this is from CNN. It's read by Taylor Galgano, saying these Parkland students experienced their second deadly school shooting in 7 years. So as Elena Beniner took shelter in the student union during the Florida State University shooting on Thursday, she remembers thinking, I kind of knew the drill already. 7 years ago, Badner was an 8th grader at the middle school adjacent to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School during the shooting that killed 17 people in Parkland, Florida. Okay, so they said it's adjacent. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not, I think some people might hear that and they think, oh, they're different schools. Yeah, but, I don't know how a lot of you guys grew up. I don't know what the size of the school was, but it sounds like to me when they say adjacent, it sounds to me like it's one of those situations like almost kind of like a K through 12. So, I don't know if they're technically the same one, like maybe the other one was like Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Middle School, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Elementary, But I know for like I went to like the school I went to in Maine when I was a kid and like high school, like it was K through 12. So there's a lot of those, and it was like they had multiple buildings on the same ground, and it was like you had one building was like the elementary building, and there one that was like the middle school, and one was the high school. I mean, there was some crossover here and there depending on logistics, but for the most part, it was set up like that. It sounds like what they're explaining here. So. That would be just as significant. So as I've been through this before, it was a similar situation. Badner 21 told CNN. Now a senior at FSU, Badner was attending a bowling class on the ground floor of the student union Thursday when a shooter opened fire near the building, killing 2 people and injuring 6 others before he was shot and taken into custody by police. Now I will say on the adjacent thing, I would think, obviously I don't have a perfect understanding of the layout of this area, that this would likely mean that they were fairly well sequestered from the main, activities going on. Obviously, they would be aware. They'd be terrified. I'm not at all trying to take away from, like, being an 8th grader and being, knowing in the next building over there's a school shooting. It'd be absolutely terrifying. But point being is so far as, like, if we're trying to jump to conclusions about them seeing something or involvement or something, I would say that takes away a little bit from it since they didn't even really get to likely witness any of this in firsthand. So the idea that there's some other thing that we're missing that maybe some sort of involvement, I think this takes away from that. So perhaps I'm wrong, but it marked the 6th mass shooting in Florida and the 81st mass shooting in the United States in 2025, according to the Gun Violence Archive. The bowling area has big glass doors and window that face an open area where students can grab food or study. Through the windows, Badner started to see students sprinting to the bathrooms and hallways and leaving behind their belongings. So although Badner couldn't hear any gunshots or the loud music playing in the bowling alley, she instantly thought students were running from someone in a gun or someone with a gun. I didn't know why everyone else would be running and they were leaving all their belongings behind, and definitely knew there was an emergency, she said. She and a friend immediately left her bowling instructor know something was wrong. The instructor was Stephanie Horowitz, according to Badner, who also happened to be a Parkland shooting survivor. Horowitz was a freshman at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School during the 28 mass shooting on Valentine's Day. So Horowitz, the other individual, Stephanie Horowitz, she was actually at the high school where the shooting actually occurred, as opposed to being in an adjacent building. So I guess a little more significant, but obviously there's nothing we can really do with here. It's just weird. I do want to throw out here that is, I guess to add to all of it, this is in Florida. So I guess it makes it a little bit more, I don't remember where FSU is. Let's look up where FSU, actually. Let's look that up real quick. Where is FSU? That is in Tallahassee. Now let's look up where Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. That is in Tallahassee. No, not in Tallahassee. That is in... Let me see. In Parkland. Oh, I'm retarded. Of course it's in Parkland. Now let's look up Parkland to Tallahassee so we can get an idea of how far away they are. So give you an idea. So we can kind of give a... okay, that's actually it's a 5.5 hour drive. It's basically a 5 hour drive. So it's not like close, but it's still in the same state. So I mean, if that was New England, to put it in concept for a lot of people, that would be like literally multiple states away. But I mean, it's the same state, 5 hours away. I mean, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I'd say it's not. I mean, if it was like literally like the next, if it was like an hour away, I'd be like, oh, well, that makes sense. That's where all of the fucking, like, probably the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas kids, Parkland kids would probably go. Although I will say 5 hours away, being FSU, it is a university, so it still would be a sizable amount that goes there. So I guess it's not that crazy, but either way, still weird. I had a feeling it was an active shooter situation before I even heard. Horowitz, a graduate student at FSU, said in an interview with CBS. We were lucky that some of my students looked out of the glass doors and saw everybody running. Fred Gutenberg, the father of 14-year-old Jamie Gutenberg, that's a fun name, who was killed in the Parkland shooting, posted on X, "America's broken. My daughter Jamie was murdered in the Parkland school shooting. Many of her friends were lucky enough to survive that shooting, went on to attend FSU. Incredibly, some of them were just part of their second school shooting, and some were in the student union today." Sophomore Brianna Jade Friedland, who was also in 8th grade at the middle school adjacent to Marjorie Stoneman. There's a third during the shooting. So this is another middle school one. So we had, it looks like, I guess, obviously, like, so it's like 8th and 9th graders at the time. Because we had the one 9th grader, the Horowitz, who would have actually been the shootings. And then we have the two 8th graders here. And she took shelter in the gym. So they were working out on the second floor when they heard students screaming, "Active shooter," and quickly shuffled into the women's locker room with about 125 others, she told CNN. While hiding, she saw others around her crying, shaking, and texting their parents goodbye. She said all the anxiety and fear of Parkland students came rushing back. She was in a portable classroom attached to the West Glades Middle School during the 2018 shooting, where there were big windows without many places to hide. She and her classmates huddled under her civics teacher's desk for at least 3 hours. I just remember, literally being scared for my life. I just remember literally thinking, this is it. She wouldn't be able to set foot in the portable classroom for at least a month, and her family adopted a service dog after the tragedy to help Friedland cope. Oh, shit, I clicked on the wrong thing. She also raised $10,000 from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas for her mitzvah fundraising project. While hiding in FSU's locker room on Thursday, her experience Parkland helped her know what to expect and to reassure her roommate help was on the way, Friedland said. I will say it's weird. Why the fuck? I mean, obviously, completely aside, and it's I have a hard time believing this has anything to do with anything, but it's literally every fucking one of these Jews. It's just weird. I mean, I don't know. I'm in Florida. I maybe I guess I sound like a fucking some sort of bigot or something. Which I don't even really care if you think that or not. But I don't know. It's just weird. I'm just judging from my life experience. I literally don't think I've ever seen more than one Jew family at a time. And even then it's if it's almost a rarity. You're what the fuck? And obviously I say that it's when I say a Jew, I mean small hat Jew. So I guess there's not a perfect carryover here because it's I don't know. Obviously while we may joke and be oh, Jews look like this or Jews look like that. Let's be real. For the most part, generally speaking, if you're walking down, if I see Dave Smith or Danny. What did I say? I don't even know his last name. Danny Jokes. I don't even know his Twitter name. I don't know his real name. I know he's a really big comedian, but I can't think of his last. Anyways, what the fuck? Those people, you wouldn't see them and immediately be 100% a Jew. But don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's some things you could say, oh, this feature, that feature. But if you were oh, you're a Jew, and they were no, I'm not Jewish. I'm Italian. I'm white. I'm Russian. I'm this or that. You'd be okay. I mean, you kind of just take their word for it. I mean, maybe it might be oh, I see some Jewish features, but that'd be an odd sticking point. Be there's no fucking way. So I'm just pointing. It's just find it weird that this. What the fuck? How the fuck is just? I don't know. This just doesn't comport to my reality. I mean, I grew up in Maine. Lived in Tennessee for a while, rural. Lived in Florida most of my adult life. So I don't know. It's not a. I know I hear people all the time, in New York, oh, yeah, I see Jews all the time. It has not been my life experience to have anything to do with Jews whatsoever. Point being is I'm just not familiar. It's not part of my life. So it's when I hear the story about 3 Jews that all somehow ended up at FSU, just is that just to me that seems bizarre. It's mathematically what the fuck is going on here? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not that not rare. Maybe it's not that odd. I have been noticing more around here. I don't know why. I go to the grocery store, I'll see more small hats, but it's not that common. It's very, very rare. So, but then you hear people who say in large cities, they see it a shitload. So I don't know. It might just be my experience. I'm not familiar with this part of Florida, so maybe they have a strong Jewish or thing. It just seemed weird to me. All right. No one should have to experience this kind of fear, let alone twice, she said. Joe Gallagher, who said he also survived the 2018 shooting, was in the FSU law library during Thursday's shooting. Okay, now there's a fourth. Okay, I mean, I don't know. The more I'm thinking about it, though, this is a large university, 5 hours away. I mean, are any of these actual victims have actually been shot? I'm not seeing that. So because I think that's what it seemed like the implication from a lot of these is there were victims. So, I don't know, we'll get into this. I guess actually, this says memories of Parkland shooting. I'm not even going to bother reading that. If you guys want to get into the specifics, you can read that. I was just kind of looking to see if maybe any of these. No, I mean, scrolling through here, I'm not seeing any specific mentions of any of these being victims. So I'm actually kind of, as I'm going through this, I'm kind of talking myself through it and finding it less and less significant. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, now that I think about it, it's a large university. For example, when I did a semester of school, I went to Eastern Tennessee State University, or was it Southern University? I always forget. Either way, I went there for a semester, bombed hardcore because I just was partying way too fucking hard. But luckily, the first semester was completely free because I had grants, scholarships, this, that. I did well in school. I mean, I wasn't some weird nerd, But I was like a, basically A-B student, that was also, played 3 sports a year. So like I had all sorts of grants and stuff. It was all paid for. So, and after that I was like, I'm not going to pay to just piss away my money. So then I stopped doing college. But anyways, point being, I went to Eastern State, ETSU or whatever. And that was about maybe an hour and a half drive away from my house, like where I lived in Tennessee. And I got to tell you, there was a ton of people I went to high school that went there. So, but that was like the university. That's like the university that if people went to college and they went to university, that was the university they went to around there. So, I mean, I think it's probably one of those. So, like, let's just say, if there had just so happened to be a school shooting at the school I went to in Tennessee in high school, and if there later was a shooting at the other one, it's not that crazy that there would be a shitload of people from the my high school that would also be like, oh, have these stories. So maybe, I mean, universities are pretty large. It's typically where people go, which is kind of what people know. So I guess maybe it's less significant, but let's keep going. Here's here's a YouTube video of the Parkland thing, people talking about it. So I guess maybe we can watch this, see what they have to
Witness
say.
the chaos from the attack. Her name is Stephanie Horitz. We're sorry to say she was also a survivor of the Parkland shooting back in 2018.
Oh,
17
Jesus
people
Christ.
died in that one. Stephanie, good morning to you. I'm so sorry this has happened to you again. I'm so glad that you can join us for this conversation, as difficult as it is. I would imagine, Stephanie, that you never thought that this could happen to you again.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought it would happen to me for the first time, and here we are. And unfortunately, this is America for you.
And that's what I keep saying too. When will we ever get this lesson? Can you tell us where you were and what you heard when you knew that you were in trouble, that this was a terrible situation?
Yeah, so these actually
You realize it was a terrible situation.
were the doors that I came out of yesterday. I was in the bowling alley. I am one of the bowling instructors on campus as a 1-credit course that students can opt to take. And we had the music playing pretty loudly, so unfortunately we didn't hear anything, which we were lucky that some of my students looked out of the glass doors and saw everybody running. And I didn't see that, so I asked them what was going on. And when they said everyone ran, I came out from behind the desk and I looked and I saw crickets and I saw belongings left behind. And unfortunately, due to my previous experience, I knew what that meant. And before I knew exactly what was going on, I just started to direct everybody into the back room to safety until I got further information. But I had a feeling that it was an active shooter situation before I even heard.
What does that mean when you said you saw crickets? What does that mean?
There was not a soul in sight. You looked out into that room and you knew there was an emergency. There was not anything there, no movement, dead silence, and laptops open, bags on the floor. I knew what that meant.
So, Stephanie, this is Tony DeCopel, Gail's colleague here in New York. When you say you knew what that meant, and earlier you said this is America right now, it makes me wonder about the mindset of high school students, of students on college campuses. Is the reality that you're thinking every day this could be the day when there's a school shooting?
I do gotta say, from if you are spiraling around crisis actors or this being a media event, boy oh boy, does this contribute to your mania here? Because it is for me a little.
I mean, for a while, I had thought that. I never thought that before I was 15 years old. And then after surviving the Parkland school shooting at Stone Douglas back in 2018, I was a freshman. After that day, I kind of woke up every morning thinking that it could be my last day. I was afraid for my life every step.
I would say, to be fair, well, it was like I could also, if you were in 2 school shootings, I can kind of understand that perspective. But it is also like from like a media perspective of like asking these questions and obviously kind of leading the witness type deal is like, come on, come on. But all right, I mean, it does make sense that she would have, as a chick that's gone through 2 school shootings, yeah, she'd be probably pretty anti-gun by now. It's not that crazy, but all right. I mean, obviously, I feel like I would be super duper pro-gun, but I also understand kind of essentially going one extreme or the other, essentially. So.
That I took, and I've come a long way over that time, and I got into a place over these last couple of years where I didn't fear for my life anymore, and I was able to walk around campus and feel safe, and here we are yet again, and that was taken away from me for a second time.
I know, Stephanie, I so admire your poise and your composure at this time. For many people, this is just another news story. For you, this is your life. It's now happened to you twice, and I'm wondering how you're processing all of this. From what happened to you before to what happened to you now. How are you processing and dealing with this right at this moment, in this moment?
In this moment, I haven't processed everything yet. I came a long way over these last 7 years to be in a place of being mentally stable and healthy. And I haven't processed this yet because I'm not ready to potentially go back to a place where I'm a little unsure and not feeling myself. But I want to be there to support others. And I have a support system myself that I'm very grateful for. And yesterday I was responsible for almost 30 students because I was the instructor. So I was looking out for their best interest and keeping them safe. And soon I'll be able to process things myself.
All right, Stephanie Horowitz, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you.
All right, let's get into the last little bit about this, the Cuban exile side of it. Because that is another angle. Now, I will say, we've dug through the, I guess you could say, quote-unquote victims. I mean, obviously, victims implies they were something. But I would say just like being around a school shooting, I think it's fair to call yourself a victim in a sense. While you may not have been shot, I mean, you were subjected to some crazy psychological terror at the very least. So, I mean, I forget what my whole fucking point was. Oh, so, referring to them as victims is my point. So, but now I think we're getting to a literal victim. because there were only 2 people who died. I mean, I say only 2. I mean, ideally no one would have died, so I don't mean it like diminishing, but there were 2 people who died, one of which, now this is where we get to, obviously we just went into the whole Parkland thing. And so, like, as I kind of brought in, like, I don't know what degree the significance is here. Obviously, it plays well on media, as we just displayed. So I guess you can kind of jump to conclusions there. But I don't know how significant that really is. But now there was only 2 people who died, and one of which their dad glows like the fucking sun. So this is where you're like, okie dokie. So let's get into it. Let's, I guess probably, I meant to actually click on one of these kind of to dig through these, but I forgot. But fuck it. Let's just go down. Power mapping's always a good thing. He probably doesn't like me if he even knows of me. But I'm pretty sure he's pretty raging lefty. But he does do good fucking parapolitical work. So let's fucking look into that. So you see here, he says, you got to be joking, bro. One of the 2 deceased victims of the FS shooting was the son of Ricardo Monkey Morales, a Cuban exile CIA operative tied to drug running who participated in the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. So let's go ahead and read this. So one of the 2 people killed in Thursday's shootings at Florida State University was the son of Ricardo Monkey Morales, a shadowy Cuban-American CIA operative and anti-Castro militant throughout the 1960s and 70s who died in a bar fight in Miami in 1982. Okay, so his dad died in 82. It was his son. So his dad died in the 80s. So I would assume this is someone who's at least, because I was born in 91, so I would assume this guy's got to be at least 9 years older than me if his dad died in 92. Okay. All right, so Roberto Morales, 57, was among several university employees who had gathered for a meeting when the shooting began. Okay, his brother Ricardo. Okay, so it was staff. It was a staff member, is what it sounds like, a university employee. Okay, so that makes sense because when I saw the 1982 figure, I was like, "What the fuck? What kind of college kid is this?" So no, yeah, it was one of the staff members. He was an older guy, 57, which. Okay, because when I first heard about the story, I assumed it was probably some sort of college kid, and that made me kind of be like, okay, whatever, like fucking. Some college kid with glowy connections. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, significant, but like, he's a college kid. I mean, yeah, sure, he could be some sort of glowy, involved in glowy stuff, but he's kind of young, probably not super likely. Dude's 57. And he works for a university, so, which is, I mean, generally speaking, I mean, Florida State, I mean, I would assume Florida State, that means it gets federal fucking funds. So, or at least state funds, I guess maybe state funds. But either way, point being, it's essentially a government cutout. I mean, it's not at all uncommon for things to run through the universities, ops, this, that, or actual be cutouts, because they are kind of a, they're kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, they are the government. I mean, when you deal, I mean, like, what was it, Murray Rothbard's Anatomy of the State, like even just from a conceptual standpoint, he looks at them as like the priests. But even then further go that, you just follow the money. It's like they're literally, most of these universities, particularly speaking, they're literally tied up into the government. So they are basically the government. So, and then on top of that, like I said, their job is essentially to create apologia for the government. So, all right, let's keep going. He worked at the university's Department of Dining Services. Okay. All right, so I guess maybe he wasn't a professor, which professors, I will say, that's probably be a little bit glowier. Although, yeah, so today we lost my younger brother. He was one of the victims killed at FSU. He lost his job at SFU and his beautiful wife, or he loved his job at SFU and his beautiful wife and daughter. I'm glad you were in my life, Ricardo Morales Jr. wrote Thursday night on X, in his X account. In the 1960s and 70s, Morales, who took part in the failed Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba in 1961, was one of many Cuban exiles collaborating with the CIA to undermine Fidel Castro's regime. Wild shit. And it was on the fucking, holy shit, I didn't even realize that. He points out here that I guess the shooting happened on the Bay of Pigs anniversary. That's something. That's something. All right. So I guess he's theorizing too. He says, well, within the realm of possibility, the FSU shooting victim Roberto Morales has learned too much about Monkey Morales' agency dealings during the Bay of Pigs, Dallas 63, and his drug trafficking involvement, and was targeted to silence him just like his father. And I guess the reasoning being here, he says this may have been a cleanup operation, as their dad apparently told his sons shortly before his murder in a club in Key Biscayne in the early 80s that he had been stationed in Dallas on 11/20/63 as part of the cleanup crew awaiting orders, and he believed he would be killed for divulging too much in relation to his work to a Venezuelan journo. All right. Okie dokie. Yeah, so here's an article. Tick talks. Figure dies of his wounds. Tick talks. What's so weird? It says Ricardo Monkey Morales died in sterile hospital surroundings Wednesday, blessed by a priest and surrounded by family. The rumors, the gossip, and the intrigue did not die with him. His brain not functioning since a bullet smashed into his skull Monday night. Morales, 43, was pronounced dead at 1:32. He stopped breathing almost immediately after Dr. Jorge Picaza disconnected the life support system with the permission of the family. 2 sons, a daughter, and other relatives were at his bedside, said Mercy Hospital spokesman Bukele. The kids are all mixed up, said a family friend. They are very upset. They just love their father. Many people did not. Morales was a spy, a killer, a terrorist, and a drug trafficker. He admitted murder and bragged of his part in the bombing of a Cubana Airlines flight in which 73 persons died. Double and even triple agent, a man who had worked for the CIA and was a top Venezuelan secret police official, Morales was a real-life James Bond, says attorney John Komorowski. Metro-Dade police say the would-be James Bond fatal caper was a barroom brawl, not so pure but simple. So obviously the implication being here, maybe he talked to on his deathbed. There's more on his brawl. I think I'm going to probably come to an end of the story here. I will say, here we go. His brother is co-authoring a book about their operative father that is expected to publish later this year in September. I mean, not to read this too much, but it's possible this may have been a bloody veiled threat and attempt to silence him. Oh, for real? Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and put on a big old bet here that fucking the brother does not fucking drop that shit. Or, actually, I take that back. I completely take that back. He will drop it, but I have a feeling, we'll never probably know this, but I have a feeling there will be some details changed, perhaps. Whew. The book that FSU victim Roberto Morales' brother co-authored for their CIA father is also penned by actor-writer Sean Oliver, who apparently owns a wrestling company called Kayfabe Productions, which I guess it's kind of like feels like a revelation of the method. If anyone knows what kayfabe is the concept in wrestling. It's just literally like we're putting on a show. This is fake. That's what kayfabe is. Don't break kayfabe. Stay in character. Don't break kayfabe. They allege Monkey was a triple agent who worked for American, Venezuelan, and Cuban intel. He was an informant for the FBI, DEA, and Miami law enforcement, was the single most uncontrollable rabble-rouser in the network of anti-Castro freelance bombers in Miami. He claimed to his kids shortly prior to his murder that he had trained Oswald while serving as a sniper instructor at the covert. Holy shit. Used to prepare for Cuban invasion, and the FSU victim's brother appears to have admitted this on Spanish-language radio in 2021. Holy fuck. It does kind of sound like the implication is maybe the brother might know more, and the living one, and that was just killed. Holy shit! So here's an excerpt from another article. Almost 40 years after his death, following a bar brawl in Key Biscayne, Ricardo Morales, also known as Monkey, contract CIA worker, anti-Castro militant, counterintelligence chief for Venezuela, FBI informant, and drug dealer, returned to the spotlight Thursday morning when one of his sons made a startling claim on Spanish-language radio. Morales, a sniper instructor in the early 1960s in secret camps where Cuban exiles and others trained to invade Cuba, realized in the hours after President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas in 1963 that the accused killer, Lee Harvey Oswald, had been one of his sniper trainees. All right, you guys need to not let me forget to tell Austin about this, because Austin is going to fucking cream his pants. I mean, you see me kind of excited here? Austin is going to be super duper excited. This is nuts. All right, if anything, I almost probably should somehow save it somewhere and tell him later, so I don't like distract his mind where he's like digging deep into his process right now, and then completely bring up something that has nothing to do with the realm he's digging into. But man, oh man. And he also points out here, think about the timing of all this in relation to the ongoing Trump-sanctioned JFK and Epstein LimHang disclosure ops. Here's another one. I missed that Monkey Morales reportedly worked with or for Israeli Mossadists at one point and also had ties to ex-CIA arms dealer or arms trader Edwin P. Wilson, who may have recruited him to assassinate Carlos the Jackal or else a Libyan dissident. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is all right. Let's and then here's another piece that he has about the agency. It's a clipping describing recruiting students at FSU in 1966. Okay, interesting. All right, I'm gonna leave this be now because man, I'm gonna keep spiraling around. This is wild. This is nuts. I will say I did see, just to point out to you guys real quick. I guess I'll give it a little bit of a shout out or here we go. Literally right here. Just search in FSU Cuban and you'll be able to find the link. I guess he did an episode. So he did an episode on it. So if you want, obviously we covered his thread here, but I would assume, I think it's probably pretty likely if you go check out this episode, he probably has his thoughts far more organized here and put together. But even then, that was still mind-blowing. So there might be, obviously I just mined kind of that quickly, so would recommend go check that out. I don't know where his podcast is at or whatever. But you can find that tweet at least, and then from there you can hunt it down. But I bet you that fucking episode is probably super fucking interesting. All right, let's roll for the chat. Man, that blew my fucking mind. Not nice, guys. This is just a coincidence. Oh yeah, Jesus Christ, dude, that is nuts. It says weird how more trustless Oswald did it stuff comes out alongside the disclosure. Although I wouldn't sum this up as Oswald did it. I mean, this obviously implies Oswald's involved, but this implies this would be information they wouldn't want out. This would be, this implies a larger operation, CIA operation, whatever. So yeah, I mean, it just means that Oswald was involved in the plot. So yeah, which I do think he was involved in the plot. So Jesus Christ, man, that's nuts. All right, let's go. Jesus. All right, just keep scrolling through the chat, see what you guys have to say. Scrolling. Unfortunately, only 2 people died. I didn't mean it like that. Jeez. Rabbit holes, these shooter lies, mind control, such money bought most of them. I checked the background. I know we talked about this shooter a little bit yesterday. I didn't really see. I mean, probably should go back and remine it for weirdness. We just talked about how he did experience abuse, and it seemed like he was mentally unwell. So kind of does fit a lot of the markers of kind of like I'm retarded, whatever. I totally lost. I was reading one of the things, and I saw your mom said if I slow it down, you can see the natural pauses aren't very natural, and she's obviously reading a script. Yeah, that was on 2X, so it was. I mean, I already deleted the tab, or I'd go back to give you the idea. Because, yeah, she did, even on 2X, she sounded actually fairly normal, only like slightly sped up. So it was very, I would assume just by the speed of 2X, it was like an intentional slowed down. So, yeah. All right. Scrolling. Jose, are you going to have a Parkland episode in Rumble one day? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know anyone. I would need I'm not Austin. I do interviews. So really, if you guys ever see someone who's like really killing it on an issue and you feel like, and it's a topic that I'm interested in, what I like to do is I like to bring on people that are like experts in a thing. And I like to just mine their brain, and that's what I do. So, and then I make it mine, and then I bring it to other platforms, and I say, did you know about this fucking thing? And I steal all their fucking info. I'm just kidding. That's just how normal information works with people. Yeah. And I do the same thing when I talk to Jake Shields or Sam Tripoli. I hope they take my information and they go say that elsewhere. You'll never hear me going, I said that. They took that from me. No, that's what I want. Maybe I might say, oh, cool, that was me. But it would be more like, oh, that's cool. Look, Sam's out there saying shit I've told him. So, yeah. All right, let's keep going. Let's go to what else we got. Let's do a Dana Doodah. That's fun to say, isn't it? All right, here we go. Here's Dana on Roman Polanski. She goes, well, I was right. Roman Polanski is a Polish intelligence asset, and his defection was prearranged, only with the CIA being aware of this up until November 7th, 1977. Everything I discussed in this episode feels validated. Told you. Which, once again, I mentioned when she was on her episode, this series fucking crushes. This What is the Process is the RSS feed. And this is a just straight through line on just the process. It's a whole RSS feed on just the process. I think I'm at like episode 6 or something like that. Anyways, great stuff. But I guess she goes into Polanski and that. And there's a article, or not an article, but a memo she has here that I'm going to read to you guys that seems to, this is from the CIA government reading room. So the CIA government document that got released later. So here we go. It says Polish communist intelligence agents in Sweden. In capitals, that's the header. Some of the listed below individuals can be out of Sweden already, are not operative anymore, but many of them are still active. It says full description of these individuals and their activities in the past can be presented upon request after reaching an agreement as to conditions of such disclosure. Each case can be supported by a 1 to 2 page additional report. This list was prepared on November 7th, 1977 by Janusz Rawisk-Kaukanowski, former Polish intelligence officer who defected to the West after several years of cooperation with the CIA. As of today, this list of agents was never disclosed to anyone except the CIA. Most of the individuals listed below are operating in Stockholm, Sweden, unless a different name of city is mentioned next to a particular name. And you see the sub, the kind of like a, what's the word I'm looking for? We put a little asterisk in something, and then it's at the bottom. Footnote. And a little footnote says 19. I'm assuming it's just kind of like showing probably a list or something. It says Władimir, man, I can't even say that fucking dude. Essentially Polanski. Roman Polanski, which I don't know how you get whatever the fuck that name is, you get Roman out of that. This is the first time I'm learning. Oh, I'm retarded. No, I'm an idiot. So I thought maybe that was like his nickname. His nickname Scar, uncle of Roman Polanski, famous film producer, who also cooperated with the SB, and his defection to the West was fully prearranged. Okie dokie. So we have, okay, I guess the uncle. So I will say, okay, I mean, this initial thing does make me think that it's like, this tweet / thing makes me think that it's like a confirmed Roman Polanski, but it sounds like he's confirming his uncle, unless I'm misunderstanding the document here, which don't get me wrong, that's a close fucking connection. So like, that's significant, obviously. I'm just saying it's different than if it was literally Roman. So just worth mentioning. Obviously, I think it's probably true. This dude's glowy. I mean, this is a guy who was tied in with the Mansons and like all sorts of. This dude, and this is the one who fucking diddled a kid and fucking then ran off to fucking overseas. And yet we still have all sorts of high-powered fucking what am I trying to say? Celebrities and stuff that would go to bat for him way after the fact. So yeah, he is someone who comes up a lot in these weird parapolitical things. He ran in dark circles. I mean, he was his wife, Sharon Tate, that died in the killings. Yeah, and there's a lot to suggest there was a lot of dark stuff going on there with him and his wife. Like, there's implications. This is even in Chaos, I believe, that there were like essentially, basically, debatably gang rape videos of him and his him videoing his wife. Essentially, that being the case. So like BDSM type dark shit. So. Just saying that. There was some weird stuff going on there. So, but yeah, I find this particularly interesting. So, but let's go into the next story. But let's roll through the chat real quick. Yeah, so many things I suspect Roman of. It makes me nauseous. 100%. He's a fucking demon. So yeah, he says I know too much about these demons already. So I'm working a 9 to 5. So hopefully Jose doesn't have to and can give me content every day. Exactly. Give me your money. Go to work so I don't have to, okay? So that way I can have fun hanging out with you guys. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you. Obviously, you guys are never compelled to give me money. I mean, like let's be real. Some of this is passive, so it's not too. But obviously, if you're able to, even if it's just like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever helps. So I mean, just simple things, little bits here and there. So I mean, whatever. So not a big deal. It definitely would make things a lot easier, though. That's for sure. Make my life a lot less hectic and a lot less running around if I just was able to just do this. So, but whatever, we'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, not too much longer. I think within the next year or so we'll be there. So I'm not too worried about it. But appreciate you guys for all of that. But let's get into something from Booty here. I thought this was interesting with the recent revelations, or actually not even revelations, I guess is the wrong way to put it. That's a retarded way to put it. The recent change in policy, although it's not even really a change in policy, it's just a change in rhetoric, really, of the Trump administration when it comes to the fucking, what is it, the lab leak. So, lab leak thing, I'll bring it up real quick. Here we go, fucking this shit right here. Oh, lab leak. Look at this. Look at this. Look at, man, we talked about this on Already Dead. Look how fucking slick this looks. Look what a fucking cool photo. Him walking forward, looking all bad. It doesn't even kind of look kind of trim in this, dude. It looks kind of fucking like beefy, like in a good way. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to suck off Trump here. I'm just saying. Kind of looks kind of cool, right? I mean, hell, even the little graphics here. This is all slick. This is good shit. And then you got Fauci, like, fuck this guy. So their current, I guess the current White House stance is no, they buy the lab leak theory. But as me and Austin talked about the other day, that seems to make no fucking difference anyways, because so far as actually anything happening to anyone or even getting actual deep level truth, not happening. Because legally speaking, we have the pardon / clemency or whatever from Biden, and then now you combine that. When a lot of people went, oh, when that happened, they go, oh, cool. So now, I mean, while that is this shit is shitty, it's like on the flip side, now we can put these people on the stand and they can't plead the fifth. Well, lo and behold, here comes fucking Trump in like a fucking battering ram and goes, I forget exactly what he said, how he framed it, but he essentially said these were essentially null and void because Biden was using some sort of policy of like an auto signer or something, which doesn't count. Which whatever, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I'm not even arguing that. I don't fucking care. Only point being is essentially you end up with these things that kind of cancel each other out, but yet I don't really know the ins and outs on like what it would take in order for Trump to, let's say he wanted to prosecute Fauci. Is he able to just, it's an I mean, the first executive action was executive action, but by a prior president. Now we have a new president. Are they able to just sweeping executive action do that? I don't know, but it sounds like to me, if I had to guess, it kind of seems like almost like a perfect little canceling out. And so essentially you're kind of have it tackled from both sides. And you kind of just don't have to. Like, so far as like the Fifth Amendment side of things, if he was to plead the Fifth, I think it might fly. I think they can kind of essentially have their cake and eat it too. They can essentially play it whichever way they want. If he pleads the Fifth, and they could go, if they try to be like, oh, you can't plead the Fifth because you were pardoned, they can go, no, we called that null and void. He's not pardoned. And the flip side, if he says anything, if he talks out of turn, then they can prosecute him. Possibly. It's kind of like this threat looming over his head. So it's like he kind of really can't say anything, and he also kind of really can't, because if they did try to prosecute, I could see that being likely some sort of big legal proceeding, being a big issue. So essentially I see this as essentially Fauci has become the rhetorical scapegoat, and that's it. So all of this, it seems like it's almost trying to be like, this is all done, and this is just going to be, Fauci was a bad guy, but we're not going to get any truth from him, and we're not going to get we're not going to get our pound of flesh either. So means fucking nothing, absolutely nothing. Okay, maybe not absolutely. I guess you could make the slight case it's good that he at least has the social, no, you're the bad guy, which. Do you think Fauci cares? I don't think fucking Fauci cares. I don't think Fauci cares one fucking iota. So, I mean, but anyways, let's all that aside, I just thought it was interesting. Here's Boltzmann Booty. He says, pretend lab disclosure from the highest levels of U.S. government seems like evidence of the scenario implied here. And now he's sharing an old thread of his that I figured maybe we could go through. That maybe there's something to do with this. He's quote tweeting in this thread. T. Greer says, I did not know this. Trump only started calling COVID the China virus after he read Zhao Lijian's tweet blaming COVID on the U.S. So, it didn't become that until... So here's the original tweet. So this article is very much important to each and every one of us. Please read and retweet it. COVID-19, further evidence that the virus originated in the U.S. This is on March 13th, 2020 from Lijian Zhao. So yeah, he accused them of doing it, and then right after that, then we accused them of doing it. Now add to this, he said, Sympathies says, the virus somehow jumped extremely early from China to Iran, and quickly started infecting and killing Iranian leaders and officials right around the time the U.S. assassinated Soleimani. Auspicious start for China virus, promptly killing U.S./Israeli enemies. So from really it kind of hit all the main beats except for Russia. Really, aside from hitting Russia. So interesting. I don't know if the implication here is perhaps maybe the DNA side of things, because I remember it was bizarre. A lot of people may remember, when RFK was kind of first floated out as I don't know if this was on the campaign trail or if he was being floated out as a cabinet member, but essentially he made that one statement about that it might be targeting certain genetic indicators or markers or whatever. Essentially, the implication being perhaps certain races or genomes or whatever may be more prevalent in them. So I don't know if that's what they're getting at here. It was weird that immediately him saying something that wasn't even. I don't even know if he actually even explicitly said Israel or anything like that, but then obviously it became this, this is anti-Semitic. You're like, okay. You saying it's anti-Semitic is, if anything, kind of implies you think you're saying something he's not. But here's a few excerpts I figured we'd read through. Maybe we can get a better idea of what Booty thinks exactly, perhaps. Although it is weird. I do remember it is... Really, you guys may recall. I know for me with COVID, that's kind of what really, the only moment I was a little bit concerned is because I remember hearing on the news over in China and stuff like that. You see the horror videos coming out of people dropping like flies, and that was the only time that I was like, oh shit, maybe this is something. And it wasn't until it was a couple weeks at the States, so I was like, oh, okay, this is bullshit. All the reports are coming out. It's not really that bad. But no, there was that period of time where it was like, oh shit's rough, and it was high up, Iranian leaders were dying and stuff too, and it did seem like something weird was going on. I do remember having that impression of what the fuck? Obviously, because it's targeting China. China is super glowy. Also, they're one of our enemies, so it's if China would be the kind to be oh, let's just release a fucking virus and see what it does for whatever reason. I also could just as easily believe that we did it in order to target China or something, because we're just assholes like that. But it's weird, all the kind of the higher ups too that were dying. I remember seeing a lot of the Iranians. It was just bizarre. Anyways, here we go. Coronavirus kills Iran religious leader as death toll jumps again. So Ayatollah Hashem Bathai Golpayagani dies 2 days after testing positive, while number of deaths tops 850. So it was an Ayatollah. Was this the Ayatollah, or is Ayatollah also a minor title? I don't know. I know we have the one Iranian in our audience, so maybe you would know. Is Ayatollah also there's smaller Ayatollahs? Is the same thing as a rebbe or a rabbi or pastor or father or what? Is that the same idea? And it's just there's you get the Pope, and then you have smaller people. Is that what's going on here, or is that literally the previous supreme leader or whatever? And because I don't remember the supreme leader dying. But I don't know. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. But anyways, interesting. Here we go. At least 13 Iran regime figures dead. 11 infected with coronavirus. Now I will say, there's also the interesting angle that maybe it could be this was all I don't know, say the COVID itself. It was all just organic, or maybe not even organic. It was some other op. You know what I mean? Because obviously we're pointing to look at all these dead people. It was so us saying oh, look at their enemies dying. It doesn't necessarily mean these are connected. It could easily just be some contingency realizes, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to do certain other things. Because if you do have a COVID thing going on, it's kind of the ideal time to oh, well, we can kind of if there's anyone that we don't like around that's kind of older or something, or in not the greatest health, we just kind of off them, by some semi-legit looking ways, and everyone's just gonna go, oh, coronavirus. So, I wouldn't be at least surprised if they were doing that with Iran as well. But yeah, so we see 13 Iran regime figures dead. And here's early unofficial cases. According to physicians who spoke with American journalist Dexter Filkins, who asked to remain anonymous for fear of retribution, possibly the first case of COVID in Iran was in December in the city of Gorgan. Gorgon, to be fair, but I mean, like a G-O-G-O-R-O-N, or G-O-R-G-O-N. That's a mythical beast. That's interesting. Don't know if there's anything there. The physicians complained to Filkins that in the coming weeks, as the cases mounted and many of the patients started dying, hospital officials told staff to keep quiet. We were given special instructions not to release any statistics on infection and death rates. Staff were ordered not to wear masks or protective clothing. The aim was to prevent fear in society, even if it meant high casualties among the medical staff. Officials were afraid fear of the pandemic would reduce voter turnout for the 21 February parliamentary election, which would encourage counter-revolutionaries. So COVID, okay. All right. So Iran was trying to downplay it and try not to really lean into it at all. So, yeah, okay. Trump says U.S. investigating whether coronavirus spread after China lab mishap, but cites no evidence. Okay, that's interesting. So no evidence was really ever provided. I mean, obviously, I know we have the lab there, but that was a joint U.S.-China lab. So everyone always points and goes, oh, China. And you're like, yeah, but that was like our lab too, dumbass. So, like, you just saying that we had nothing to do with it? I mean, I guess it's possible, but, I mean, it just seems like a convenient thing to leave out. You know what I mean? All right, let's roll through the chat, see what you guys have to say. To find lies dying from coronavirus as an official. What a joke, right? I'm scrolling through. Oh, Psycho World just found your channel. Keep making amazing content. Thank you. You're good, my best friend, Nick Mullen. Yeah, I like Nick Mullen, too. Yeah, here's Rise Liberty. That was the same thing for me. Not going to lie, they had me in the beginning. It was very short, though, because it really was like... I mean, I don't think I really got caught up in sort of any pandemonium. I will admit, like, the first, like, couple weeks when I knew I was getting ready to come to the States, I made a focus on eating better, working out. Like, so I was doing all the things that, like, you know, you should do if you were concerned. It wasn't like, oh, no, we're going to wear masks, we're going to wear gloves, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Like, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't concerned about that stuff. What I was concerned about was all the other stuff. So we really did crack down, started eating healthier, I started working out more, you know, trying to get the kids to come with me and stuff. You know, and they did a lot. So... hey, we got in really good shape during COVID. So, but that was the big thing. As I was like, because I had no idea, and I just knew, without being a doctor or anything like that, like, well, my best course of action is to get in really good shape. That's the best thing I can do. That's the best thing to keep me from getting sick. So, someone says, doesn't the phrase "poison the well" come from exactly the sort of thing that ended up being COVID? No, I'm pretty sure the poison the well literally actually comes from like Palestinian and Israeli relations, because I think in like the early like 1940s type era, there were literally multiple cases of poisoning the well, where they would literally poison Palestinian water sources. The irony here too is like this is typically brought up on the inverse side as like as a thing, an accusation against the Palestinians. Very frequently, despite that's like actually historically speaking, that's an Israeli thing. So, which is kind of wild when you do look into all the common lines, I guess you could say, hot button lines of like Palestinians do this, Palestinians do that, like damn near every single time it's like something that they've done prominently or historically, like it's like or it's literally even like what's the word I'm looking for? Like not methodical, but like a systematic, like that to that point. Like for example, like the human shield thing that was like the line the entire time. We'll come to find out towards the past, was it like 2-3 months ago, that like there were multiple fucking whistleblower articles that have come out about like this IDF guy, that IDF guy, like all of which confirming the existence of essentially a systematized, fucking human shield system in the like Israel, in the IDF essentially, in the idea that like within each unit there's like one or two of them. They're like, oh, hey, go get the human shield. We gotta fucking go clear this building. Like, yeah, it's many such cases. So I'm pretty sure that the poison in the well, that's actually the origin of it. So isn't that fun? So. Everyone should hit the like, says Jacob. You sure should. All right. Yeah, holding Fauci accountable will be a whole to do. They're not going to do it. Exactly. All right. Let's. Somebody talk about West Memphis 3. All right. right. Scrolling through. I think we might be good. I think we got all of them. So I just want Jose to start getting enough money to start doing something like addictively bidding on knives. Yeah, I need to get to the spot where I'm like Top and Raven, where we just have weird. I have weird little things. Right now, I scrimp and save every little thing. I don't spend money. Hell, even my dietary fucking system right now, I literally like get fucking cheap meat, like cheap steak, cook it up, and I eat like, probably like maybe half a pound of it, like, 2 to 3 times a day. And that's literally all I'm doing. So even that's super cheap. So yeah, but anyways, let's move on. What else we got? Let's go. Well, one last little factoid and I'll get you guys out of here. I thought this is one I've had in here for a while that I thought would be interesting to go through. The idea that Nayib Bukele, if that's the correct way to say his name, is a CIA asset. And then his handler is CIA agent Ronald Johnson. So here we go. Keep in mind, this is a guy who's kind of, frequently brought up as like, look how cool this guy is. He's doing this, he's doing that. And I don't know. I don't follow him enough. I mean, a lot of the people I like seem to think he's cool. So and maybe he is. I don't really know enough. I know he recently came up in the whole immigration stuff and kind of being like, oh, we're going to send our fucking criminals over there. So, but either way, this is interesting. Here's this guy, Colonel Ronald Johnson, retired from the U.S. Army. Now, this is a distinguished member of the Special Forces Regiment. So this is a guy that's being purported to be Nayib Bukele's agent. So let's go through this. This is his bio, his military bio, which is kind of the thing you can pull up usually for a lot of military guys. If you go look them up in their what's called the portal or whatever, especially the higher up guys will usually have a bio like that. I don't think I ever had a bio like this. Now that I look back on it, I think I might have like if you look me up, you could find like my military photo, but I don't think I ever had like a bio. But it's pretty common, especially probably when you get to like a senior NCO or an officer. Pretty much all of them have bios. And this is one that was in some sort of distinguished member of the Special Forces stuff, so it's even more flashy. But anyways, point being, it's going to kind of read like that. So Colonel Ronald D. Johnson enlisted in the U.S. Army National Guard in 1971. He completed Officers Candidate School in 1973 and graduated from the Special Forces Officers Course in 1977 while assigned to the 20th Special Forces Group, Airborne. In 1984, he entered full-time active duty as a detachment commander with 3rd Battalion, 7th Special Forces Group in Panama. He would serve in a wide variety of command and staff positions, directly contributing to the long outstanding history of the Special Forces Regiment. This includes being selected as the first Special Forces officer to attend the Army War College Fellowship at the CIA. Johnson spent a significant portion of his military career in the Southern Command area of responsibility and is fluent in Spanish. He led combat operations in El Salvador as one of the authorized 55 military advisors during the Civil War in the 1980s. He also deployed to the Balkans in the 1990s as the senior military officer of an integrated team from the CIA. National Security Agents, or NSA, and Special Mission Unit personnel to apprehend persons indicted for war crimes. After his military career, Johnson served a second career with the CIA and participated in worldwide operational and combat experiences in integrated actions with special mission units. He also served as a senior representative for both the Director of National Intelligence and the CIA at the U.S. Southern Command, and as the Science and Technology Liaison to the U.S. Special Operations Command for the CIA. In 2019, Johnson was appointed and served as the United States Ambassador to El Salvador until his retirement in 2021. He's a recipient of El Salvador's 2 highest awards, the Grand Order of Francisco Morazan and the Grand Silver Cross. In 2020, he was awarded the Sue M. Cobb Award for Exemplary Diplomatic Service from this Department of State. He's an honorary chair of the Office of the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services Society, which is the precursor. Actually, I think the OSSS is actually different now that I think about it. So... the society. So I'm assuming that might be kind of like a group, like a social group for the old OSS guys is the implication here. And is a life member of the Special Forces Association. He has been married to his wife, Alina, for more than 40 years, and they live in Miami, Florida. So here we go. Here is a photo. It says, "Man for Mexico." Well, I think that's clipped out. But either way, here's a picture of the two of them together. Looks like with bibs, probably eating lobster. So here's Ronald Johnson, Nayib, dining a lobster in Miami, December 2020. So the retired colonel's tenure as ambassador in El Salvador lasted less than 2 years, but was enough for him to forge a personal friendship with President Nayib Bukele during the country's civil war in the 1980s. He led combat and counterinsurgency operations. So here we go. Here's more here. Yeah, and this is more, I think, from that article. I'm assuming probably on his retirement. So Nayib had mixed emotions. He smiled as he stood for official photographs, but the Salvadorian president admitted he was filled with sadness and nostalgia. A great friend is leaving, Bukele declared on January 18, 2021, at the farewell ceremony he organized for Ronald Johnson, the U.S. ambassador. Just 2 days before Johnson was set to leave, Bukele honored him with the National Order Jose Matias Delgado, Grand Cross Silver Plate, one of the highest decorations in El Salvador. At the same event, Johnson also became the first recipient of the newly created Grand Order Francisco Morazan, an insignia specifically designed to commemorate his brief stay of less than 2 years. So obviously, I'm assuming, this guy's gone. So, there's another dude in here who's likely filled his role. Obviously I feel like they say, the whole point is, this guy's a CIA asset, his handler's a CIA agent. And I'd say, to be fair, I think it probably is overstating it a little bit, but I do think it's interesting that this shows how the game is played. And in a certain sense, it's true. In a certain sense, this is 100% true. He's a CIA asset in a sense, depending on how you look at it. And then the CIA agent's this guy. Obviously, it's changed since then. They probably put a new guy in this role that literally is, swapped him out with another guy. So, but at the same time, I think this is probably, if you really looked into it, this is probably what you see in a shitload of countries. So I was more bringing this up not to really be like, Nayib literally works for the CIA, and he is a CIA asset through and through, and will do their bidding. Obviously, I think he probably generally leans that way. But I think this is what it's done with probably most world leaders. We essentially kind of bully them, you could say, or woo them into putting our people in certain positions and to have essentially monitor them. And, I'd say probably some leaders take more to it than others. It looks like, judging by the way this is characterized by Nayib, he seems to be pretty damn cool. Cool as a cucumber. I don't know, who knows? Maybe he's playing 6D chess and just saying what they want to hear. But it looks like he's pretty happy with the situation, is what it seems like, and pretty chill with old Ronnie here. So I thought it was interesting to kind of just show how this works. But I don't think this is necessarily unique to Nayib. If anything, I think this is probably just how we see business done, particularly in countries that have a history of Fed involvement. So they've already got their hooks in deep. But all right, with that, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Let's roll through the chat real quick, see what you guys have to say, see if there's anything worthwhile shooting the shit about before we get out of here. But after that, I think we're probably going to go ahead and roll. So, somebody said Bond is also based on John D. I have heard that. Seeing the Chinaman fake pass on the street, let me know it was all fake and gay. They're terrible actors. Yeah, I did think there was probably some level. I do remember thinking some of this seems fake, but it was so over the top that I was like, I don't know. I'm not going to just assume it's fake. I'm going to get in shape, get ready, be prepared. And yeah, I was. I think I got it like once or twice, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't a big deal. So yeah. Someone says it goes back way further than that. I'm assuming referring to the Wells. I'm assuming maybe if you're implying the J question, I'm assuming you're implying that goes all the way back to the pogroms or before. Because you can kind of always take these even further. You're like, what's going on with the pogroms? And you're like, I don't think it's probably always as simple as everyone thinks it is. Because always just hand waved away is like, it's just everyone just hated the Jays. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying pogroms are cool or that you should do that or anything. I'm just saying, it seems like a retarded, simplistic view of history. I don't even really know that much. I did an episode forever ago, I think, with Pete Q. There's probably more to it. But I don't really know. So you get kind of far enough back in history, you get to a point where that's kind of like when it comes to Israel, that's how this always works. Like studying, you're like, okay, cool. Like you study the modern day foreign policy stuff, and then you dig in a little bit deper, and you're like, okay, well, I don't know, let's dig a little bit deeper. And then you're like, okay, cool. You find out about the founding, and then you get to that, and you're like. It's like there's always another level, and then you're like, now I gotta what am I supposed to read fucking scores of books or listen to fucking dozens of hours about fucking the pogroms? You just can't keep getting further, and you get the further back in time you go, the more hazy it becomes too. So you just get to a point where it's like, I just kind of think there probably was more to it. Don't be wrong. Obviously, in all cases, if there are always going to be instances that mixed up, especially when you do any sort of collectivization. I'm just saying that maybe, just maybe, as in all cases when it comes to the government, The elites don't give a fuck about the normal person. Like this idea of like when we collectivize, and I'm talking about the pogroms here. It's like, yeah, I'm saying the average Jew, like the standard Jew, they went through awful things. But I am kind of curious, what the fuck were the elites doing? Were they fucking screwing around doing some weird shit and then which in turn caused a scapegoat effect upon an entire collective, which ironically likely led to the elite, which the elites probably became unscathed, but then the people in the very, very bottom of that hierarchy who had absolutely nothing to do with it are the ones who pay the actual real price. So like, this is in no way, to be clear, this is no way to be like, oh, those Jews got what they deserved. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, just going, and then there was just this hate that overtook the world. You're like, I think there's probably more to it than that. That just seems like a very silly way to understand humanity or history. So anyway, so that was a weird little rant. But, yeah, I do think it's weird. All right. Yeah, didn't they do that to Ethiopian Jews in Israel too because the other Jews wanted them gone? Yeah. And that's another thing that kind of actually falls in line with the point I was just making, that it's actually super common, especially in the founding of Israel, is that they were doing things in other countries to scare Jews. They were literally fucking doing literal damage, killing people, hurting people to their own people in order to get their desired result. So yeah. Scrolling. Someone says they've been poisoning wells for thousands of years. Perhaps. I don't know. Anybody remember the Call of Duty No Russian mission? Literally CIA agent sent to be part of a terrorist cell to kill civilians. No, he doesn't exactly say no to any cutscenes. I didn't play that game, but I do remember there's that one. I do remember vaguely that one. I don't know if you're referring to the one like you roll up in like a fucking airport and you're just blowing people away. Not gonna lie, kind of fun. Maybe a little fucked in the head. We were like, okay, cool. Someone said that Whitney Webb said that Bukele had connections to the World Bank that requires research. I don't know how I feel because Bukele seems legit. Yeah, I don't really know about him. So he says, although I think you're right, that most world leaders got to deal with Gladio type operations. Exactly. So I don't fucking know. Yeah. Great show from Jacob. Thank you. You'll be on tonight. Jose the man. I sure am. All right. Pogroms are cool. Yeah, that's exactly what I said, right? Have you ever read Oliver Twist? They meet this Jewish dude who runs a gang of young boys, and he teaches them to pick pockets by having them grab things out of his pocket while he pretends not to know. Yeah, I don't know if I'd attribute that exactly to Jays. I'd say that's probably pretty common in the young hooligans of that time. So, all right, let's go ahead and roll out of here. I do want to take a moment to let you guys know what to do if you want to support what I'm doing over here. You can leave a like, share, subscribe, comment. That helps out a lot. 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify. It goes a long way. You'd be surprised how few people do those things. So if you're one of those, take a second. Hook up me, Austin, really anybody you listen to. It goes a long ways, and people don't do it enough. So yeah, do all that. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star review. Big stuff. But if you do want to directly support the show, you can do that with patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Obviously, that's the best way to support the show, but I do want to let you guys know, I get it. Times are tough. If you can't afford it, don't do it. Take care of yours before you take care of anybody else. But it's only $2, so I'd say probably a good deal if you guys can. And if that's what you're interested in, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you access to early episodes, of which I'm shooting for like around 4 behind the paywall. I think I have 4 behind the paywall. Doing 1 to 2 a week is the goal. So those stay behind the paywall for a good little while. So you're getting quite little value out of that. So also there's an ad-free RSS feed there, and then also you get chat or video, or you get chat. You get call-in preference on Already Dead. We're doing that now. We're just giving out the StreamYard link, but the StreamYard link for the poors who don't pay doesn't go out till the middle of the show. So patrons, they can hang out in the pre-show where we shoot the bull with them. We hang out with the patrons. Essentially, whoever gets there early. And then we also they get first dibs because we'll know that they were there. That whenever it comes to the video chat, we'll know. We'll bring them on first. And then I guess for the poors, you guys can hang out in the post show too. We usually shoot the shit with the guests after too a little bit, But yeah, those are the benefits. Also, the highest level is my patrons. I give them a big shout out every episode because I love them and to thank them for the support. I'm my co-host in Terror Gang at Terror Gang Toad, also at Abrogate D's at ZOVRACK at _Infazil. Tim Tuttle, you can follow him at Jolly on Klebold. Then Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine. Then Big Fan of the Show Tormate. And then at INWARD Lover. Appreciate you all. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I won't be here tomorrow, but there will be an episode dropping tomorrow, so there should be a premiere of something along those lines. Oh, I keep forgetting about the T-shirts. All right. I don't want to make it too plug heavy. That's just wild. Whatever. I'll scroll to Rumble real quick to make sure there's nobody left any Rumble rants. I do remind you guys can leave Rumble rants for me. And then for Austin, I know we stream to my YouTube and Austin's YouTube. Austin's YouTube, you can super chat. I don't know how much longer that'll last. I got demonetized forever ago, so you can't super chat. But you can Rumble rant, so just throwing that out there. But here you go. Here's toplobster.com. Go to the brands. Go to Already Dead. And then when you get there, boom, boom, boom. Here's our shit, doggy. You see Already Dead, the normal one. You got an Already Dead Retro, Operation Gladio shirts, No Way Jose, Yiki, Trinidad. So, yeah, go get these. Go buy that merch. If you want to keep them here, you need to go buy them because Top will scrap them if they're not making sales. So go do that. Support that. I don't know, maybe if there's if there's demand, we'll make new designs. I know we need to probably maybe drop the underclass one. Maybe get some new renovated designs. But either way, if you want more of it, you got to support it. That's really what it comes down to in this world. So same here. So if you want to see more of what I do, give me money. It sounds kind of like I'm grifting here or something, but no, seriously, if that's what you want, yeah, it's what you got to do. So, as I mentioned before, for example, I'm not coming in tomorrow because I make more money going into work than I do from this. But it's getting closer and closer, and you guys are slowly inverting that. So it won't be too much longer that, hey, you literally get more of me as a result. So we'll keep working towards that. Not anything I'm too worried about. So, but I appreciate all of you guys for the support. And with that, we're going ahead and get out of here. Deuces.